Now, in the building, Richard Ojeda. How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
All right, great to have you. Presidential candidate, and obviously from West Virginia, if you didn't know. Richard, you know that we use some of your sayings on air, and it has spread to my kids. So the other day, my 6-year-old daughter did something wrong, and my 8-year-old son turned to her and said, "How dare she?"
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, that's awesome.
And because that wasn't enough, he said, "I can't accept that."
I've made my mark in this world.
Good to have you at Rebel headquarters, brother.
Great to be here.
All right, so what brings you to town, to LA?
Well, we got word about the teacher strike, and we wanted to come here. I spent 4 years in the classroom after I retired from the military. I was very proud to be a part of the teacher strike in West Virginia and watch it spread throughout this country. Today, showing up down here, what we see teachers fighting for students. They're fighting to make sure that funding isn't taken away from public schools. They're fighting to, shrink the number of students that they have in the classroom, which is important. I was at Chandler Elementary today and speaking to teachers there. And they have a librarian one day a week, which means only 1 day a week do they have a library that's open for students. Yep. Same thing goes with nurses. They pay extra money out of their pockets to be able to have a nurse there 5 days a week. But I mean, they're sitting on $2 billion surplus. Something is wrong here, and these teachers are trying to bring that to light.
Yeah, I know my kid's in a public school, and he had to have antibiotics a couple of years ago because of the infection he got. And they said, well, good news, we have a nurse that comes in twice a week. I'm like, how's that good news? Right? Like, they're like, no, normally in the public schools, they only come in once a week. So the other 3 days, though, somehow you gotta figure out how your 6-year-old or 7-year-old can do antibiotics for themselves. Right, that's the state of disrepair of the schools in LA, and so look, the mainstream media is unfortunately I predicted would at some point, like they gave you a little bit of press, you went on morning show, a couple of things, right, and then I'm like they're gonna just shut them out afterwards, right, and unfortunately that's beginning to happen. But in the beginning, when they were talking about you, they did give you credit oftentimes for being involved in the teacher strike in West Virginia. So how did that come about, and how did you get involved there?
Well, like I said, I spent 4 years in the classroom. When I was sitting on the Senate floor, and I was listening to some of the bills that were being pushed, and they were offensive to me. I knew that the insurance program that they have in West Virginia was requiring teachers to purchase a Fitbit, was requiring them to have an iPhone, and teachers can't afford those things. And then they were gonna have to provide information, waist size and things like that. And if they were to lose 25 pounds or they were to lose an inch off of their hips, they get a $25 gift card at Walmart. But if they don't, and they put a couple pounds on, then their premiums go up. And how many teachers do you know have the time to go become members in gyms and things like that? They're busy, they're working. So this is just another thing on the shoulders of our teachers that are there, that are trying to take care of our students, and they're not there for pay. That's a fact.
Yeah, I love how they make it seem like the teachers are the greedy ones. Like the bankers are fine, but those teachers, asking for 2% raises per year that doesn't even keep up with inflation. How dare she?
49th in the country is what our teachers were. And I'm glad that they stood strong. And the thing about it was it wasn't just the teachers, the school service personnel also, never forget those, but the teacher groups got together. But what really also played a role was that all the unions come together. UMWA, IBEW, CWA, painters, carpenters, everybody come together, stood shoulder to shoulder and refused to take a step back. And in the end, they won the fight.
Yeah, and I've always been opposed to those regulations, whether it's at a company or in the case of West Virginia and the state government, talking about how, we're gonna punish you if you don't lose weight and you don't follow our rules, etc. What happened to conservatives saying get out of our lives? Yeah. Right? What happened to freedom? And so, look, and I'm not just saying that because I'm overweight. Okay, but don't micro-judge every single thing that a teacher does and then say, well, no, you're not leading the right kind of lifestyle, etc. But if you do, we'll give you a $25 coupon at McDonald's. It wasn't the McDonald's, that would have been ironic. But But it's all across the country. Unfortunately, it's red states, it's blue states. Yeah. And so, Richard, let's talk about the media, because now they've got more shiny objects. And so they're like, oh, Gillibrand, and look, and across the political spectrum, to be fair, Tulsi Gabbard and Julian Castro, et cetera. And they keep hiring. We just did it on a story on the show today about they hired Claire McCaskill, NBC did today, centrist corporate Democrat. CNN is hiring John Kasich, centrist corporate Republican. CBS is considering hiring Jeff Flake. Do you think all those media guys have totally lost touch with what's happening in the middle of the country?
Absolutely, absolutely. Both parties have. You know, I feel like they have abandoned the working class citizens, and that's what I want to do. You know, I'm going to fight this battle, and I want to change the topic of conversation. I want to make these people that are running for the presidency of the United States of America start to address the real problems, the opioid epidemic. Let's see who will check Big Pharma. You know, focusing on the middle class. I said this on Bloomberg the other day. You know, if we continue to go down the path that we're going, and we continue to go after our unions and our middle class, we will get to where we have the filthy rich and the dirt poor, and the dirt poor will eat the filthy rich. So if the filthy rich want to keep what they have, it would behoove them to start strengthening that middle class.
Okay, see, you're not going to get that kind of talk from other candidates. And so sometimes people will say, and I'm going to ask you about this right now. Well, wait a minute. Now, Richard Ojeda is not the most progressive guy in the race, the critics will say. So why do you guys like him? Because he's straight talk, right? And you could agree or disagree on different issues. So let's talk about the issues, right? Okay. So you voted for Donald Trump.
Yes.
I assume that you think it's the wrong move now, but why'd you vote for him back then?
Well, I've been thinking about the best way to package this. And you know, if you are told that you have terminal cancer,
yeah,
and you got 30 days to live, and then somebody comes and tells you that I can give you life, you go with them. Donald Trump went to Michigan, he went to Ohio, and he told the people in the auto industry that I'm gonna keep your jobs going. He come to West Virginia and he told the coal miners that I'm gonna keep you all working and feeding your family. And that's what it come down to. Many people did not like the things that he was saying, disrespectful. You know, I tell you, now it kills me, some of the things that come out of this man's mouth. But at the end of the day, I'm looking out my window and I'm looking at the people. I wanted Bernie Sanders, and they robbed Bernie Sanders. He won all 55 counties, yet they said Hillary Clinton. So number one, you steal it from the person that everybody in West Virginia wanted, and you gave it to the person that nobody wanted. And then you expect us to go with that. And then on top of that, she's saying that she's gonna do job training in jobs that do not exist in West Virginia. And he's saying, I'm gonna keep you guys working. When the coal industry is down, and make no mistake about it, I want the Green New Deal. I know that we've got a line in the sand, and if we go past that line, we can just sit and watch the earth die around us. But we've got to give these coal miners something now. Green New Deal jobs now so they can transition. Because if you walk down there and you pull the plug on coal, they can't feed their families. And when they can't feed their families, people can't shop in mom and pop stores, people can't buy cars, people can't even afford funerals where I come from. It's cremations, and I've sat down with the funeral parlor folks, and that's exactly what they've said.
So Richard, what was it about Hillary Clinton that bothered you so much?
You know, with me, there was a few things. You know, you were always taught, you know, if you drink your milk and you study hard, you too can grow up and become president. And it got to the point where that's only true if your last name is Bush, and then it looks like it's going to be that way if your last name is Clinton. You know, and everybody always asks me, you know, Ojeda said things about, you know, never voting for a Democratic president. Well, I was in the military for 24 years. And when you're in the military, I have to admit, you got blinders on. It's all about the beans and the bullets. Who can give me the beans and the bullets to best fight and win this nation's wars? Under the Clinton years, the last fiscal quarter of every year, we walked everywhere because we didn't have fuel to put in our vehicles. I remember that, and everybody talked about it. But you know, when the Republicans were in office, money was flowing. Now, later on, you realize it's because nobody's watching what's going on with the money, and that angers you. But back then, you didn't think that. Back then, you just thought, I have everything that I need to fight and win this nation's war, and it comes from that guy and not that guy.
That's interesting, because still, privates going in are making $19,000. So all the money, it seems like the great overwhelming majority of the money is going to the defense contractors and not to the soldiers. So, but you still sense when you were in the military that the Republicans got you guys more money at your level. That's fascinating.
Absolutely. Training, equipment. I mean, equipment was never an issue. I mean, if you wanted something, you got it.
I see, right. It's not your salary so much as the equipment, and of course the equipment makes the defense contractors money.
Right.
So they don't mind buying a lot of that.
You see things later on that opens your eyes. When I was in Iraq 2004, 2005, we had over 163,000 troops in Iraq. $200 per day per troop to eat. I wasn't eating $200 a day. I got photographs of me in Afghanistan washing my butt in the creek. Where's my $200 a day for food? Because I wasn't getting it. Somebody was, contractors.
That's right. By the way, you going to use that photo in the campaign?
I got it.
Well, I can't accept that. So you for Medicare for all now?
Absolutely.
And why?
Well, if I have my choice, I want Medicare for all. And I'll tell you right now, and I'm going to say, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had the perfect answer. If we've got the money to give $1.7 trillion tax break to the top 1%, then why can't we have the money to be able to take care of our people in terms of health care? I think there's no excuse when we say we don't have the money for things. I know right now, President wants this wall. How about asking the top 1% to pay for your wall? Why does it got to come on the backs of the working class citizens? He's doing temper tantrums right now, and it shouldn't be paid for by the citizens of this. Let the top 1% pay for that wall.
All right, so Richard, then why don't you speak for yourself? Because there's a spectrum of people in this campaign, right? And every day somebody new comes out. Gillibrand came out today, et cetera. So you could argue that Cory Booker maybe is more on the. Not you can argue, it's definite that he's more on the establishment side. I don't know if he's the most establishment guy in the race. And then you've got Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders on the progressive side. So where would you put yourself on that spectrum?
Well, I would tell you, I'm not on that spectrum. I tell people I'm one of you. Okay, I know what it's like to look at a stack of bills and say, am I gonna be able to pay those bills this month and still put food on the table? I know what it's like. I've actually had to check my bank account to make sure I got money before I put gas in my vehicle. These people don't. They have no concept. And then again too, don't tell me you're gonna fight the opioid epidemic and you've accepted money from Big Pharma. Don't tell me that you're gonna support the Green New Deal. Don't tell me that you wanna protect our environment and be like Beto O'Rourke, taking more, he's in Congress, #1 in money from the energy folks. They say, well, he comes from an energy state. Well, so do I. The only difference is I've thrown big energy out of my office. He takes their money.
Right, to be fair to Beto O'Rourke, he was #2 behind Ted Cruz.
Democrat.
#1 Democrat, that's true. In terms of your strategy to win, so you're saying, look, I'm outside that spectrum, and how are you going to tackle these guys? Whether it's the establishment guys, progressive, whatever. What's your strategy for how to get enough momentum to be able to win this race?
Well, I think that we are actually picking up momentum. We're doing far better than we would have ever imagined. There's a few things that we got on, in the works now that I think is going to be pretty amazing in terms of getting my name and my face out there. I put boots on the ground everywhere. I'm getting ready to drive to all 48 states, and then we'll have to obviously fly to Hawaii and Alaska, but the 48 lower, we're going to them everywhere, and we're going to drive to every single one of them. There's going to be no flyover states for Richard Ojeda. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do face-to-face. I'm going to meet these people. I'm going to sit down with them. I'm going to find out what their issues are in their area. And I'm going to try to highlight those things. These people don't want to talk about the real issues, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Nobody wants to really talk about the opioid epidemic because, like I said, many of them have benefit from it. Everybody, right now, they're all trying to come off like they're one of us. They're not. And I don't have nothing against a person that is wealthy, but I'm sorry, if you're worth 10, 20, 30 million dollars, you have no concept of what life is like to a single parent out there putting food on the table. You have no concept of what life is like to a person that's working and doesn't know if they're gonna have a job next month. I do.
So last two things here. Democratic Party leaders would say, now wait a minute, Richard, you're saying just because I take pharmaceutical company money or oil money, et cetera, that I can't make an unbiased judgment about those things. So then you're speaking out against a lot of the Democratic Party because a lot of them, the majority of them take that kind of money, the banker money, et cetera. So they would argue, well, does that mean that you're being against Democrats because all those folks take that money and you're calling them out?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're taking money from Big Pharma, we lost more people last year than all the lives lost during the Vietnam War. And we did it the year before that as well. So you're gonna take money from these people. They are the enemy. They have done more damage to us than Al-Qaeda and the Taliban combined. And you want to look the other way? No, you're wrong. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, you're wrong. You want to take money from big energy and allow them to continue doing the things that they do? You're wrong. I don't care. I'm not taking their money. And I know that I'm not at their level, up as in terms of Congress and Senate. Doesn't matter. I don't care where you're at. If you're taking money from these people and they're doing wrong by us, then you're wrong too.
So, and I want to just say, so if you wonder why, from time to time I say positive things about it, we don't hide our point of view, right? We're very clear about it. Look, I know that Richard's genuine on this issue for sure, because even before he ran for Congress, let alone president, when nobody else would show up as a state legislator, he showed up at a Wolfpack meeting. And he said, "I heard you guys are trying to get money out of politics. I'm in." Okay, so now that wasn't a political calculation. You didn't know about Wolfpack at that time. You didn't know I don't know if you knew you were going to run for Congress. I assume you didn't know you were going to run for president, right?
No.
So I don't think anybody can take away from how genuine you are on that issue. So,
and I tell people this all the time. I spent 24 years in the military, and I've got the names on my back of my brothers that didn't come home. They did not die for this. And I've got to do everything in my power to create an environment to one day I can look around and say, this is what my brothers and my sisters have died for. And right now, it's a shame.
Yeah, that's powerful. And it reminds me of the first person who ever voted for Wolfpack. It was actually a Republican in Vermont. So they voted together, to be fair. But she gave a speech saying, my son died in Iraq for freedom. And I'm not going to sell out our democracy and our freedom here and let that go to waste, right? No, we're going to fight for freedom here. And that means that the politicians serve us, the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Richard Ojeda, running for president. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.